Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to another service here at Sunburst. My name's Jake, and I'll be leading the service this morning. It's funny that singing that song, I remembered that when our son was very young, I used to sing that to him to get him to sleep. And unfortunately, our daughter was not that easy to get to sleep, so the only way we could get her to sleep was to hold her in our arms and put on the Talking Heads. And if she wasn't asleep by the seventh song, we knew we were in trouble. But it's funny how music can have an effect on us. Today we're going to talk about our heart's love. Being that Valentine's Day is tomorrow, it's an appropriate topic. I work in a natural food store, and all week I've seen our deli gearing up and cranking out, heart-shaped cakes and heart-shaped cookies and pizzas. And with the other parts of the store, there's lots of chocolate out, and there's flowers everywhere. It's that time of year for producing those things. And I could lead the service in talking about our hearts and our physical love for one another and for the earth, but I'd really like to talk about our inner heart and our inner desire for spirit and that heart connection to spirit. And there's a quote by Yogananda that references this. The greatest love you can experience is in communion with God in meditation. The love between the soul and the spirit is the perfect love, the love you are all seeking. When you meditate, love grows. Millions of thrills pass through your heart. If you strive to love all and to meditate more deeply, there will come into your life such love as you never dreamed possible. That is the love that Krishna gave and that Jesus Christ expressed for all his disciples. The last time I was sitting up here leading a service, I talked about Norm Paulsen, who's the founder of Sunburst, his experience as a young man going into cosmic consciousness. He had lived with Yogananda for 5 years at Mount Washington in Los Angeles and was very focused on finding God from a very young age. And the experience that he had when he left his body and started kind of expanding into inner space, he eventually realized that the creation was a bubble existing in this thatness that surrounded it, and that the bubble had layers or dimensions of consciousness. And for a very short instance, he thought, have I become God? And then there was this force behind him that spoke to him and said, now that you've seen, you must go back. And so he traveled back down into the bubble through the dimensions and back into his body 7.5 hours later. Spirit created this bubble because it desired to see images. And there are images on every layer of the bubble. And Spirit created subatomic particles that vibrate at different vibrations, that form the wood on this chair and the walls and our bodies, and everything in creation is subatomic particles vibrating at different levels. And when we gaze at these bodies, it's just amazing what the image that the Spirit has created. How the body functions and moves through creation, how the brain works, the brain-body connection that allows us to run and jump and walk and hike and swim. And the connection that God created in this image is that we are equipped with everything that we need to make that connection to the divine, that Norm experienced, that we all have it in our ability to go into cosmic consciousness and become God realized, which Norm often talked about, that when you exist in a God-conscious state, it's 180 degrees from self-conscious, which most of us are always in, self-consciousness. So it's really different. You have a totally different view on life, your creation, your purpose here, and the connection that you have with everybody and everything when you achieve that cosmic consciousness. We go to the movies or we read a book and we hear a story, and there's usually some things really move us and excite us, and some things maybe not so much. But you could take the greatest book or the greatest movie ever made, and it pales in comparison to the creation that God has created and that divine energy that's happening, that divine movie that's going on all the dimensions. And the fact that we have these senses in this body, that we can hear the wonderful sounds of each other speaking, we can hear the rain, hear the waves crashing on the beach, the wind. It's just amazing that we have this ability. Be able to smell really good food, smell the wonderful flowers, freshly cut grass, to be able to taste the wonderful fruits of Mother Earth, the vegetables and the fruits, to be able to touch and put our hands in the soil and plant plants and seeds, and to be able to hug one another and feel that touch and that connection that we have with each other. And intuition, which is another sense that isn't talked about too much. But we all have intuition, and we can develop a greater sense of that through meditation and realizing that power of intuition can help us avoid obstacles in our lives and help guide us on our journey here. Because God created this whole drama that's going on here, the duality of good and evil and light and dark and hot and cold, because of all the images of all the plants and animals and elements and everything. These bodies are the ultimate creation, because we have the ability to connect with everything that God created, and we have the ability to make a connection with Divine Spirit, which most of the animals and things don't really have that ability. And so we have that ability to be able to experience something that's not exactly of this world or of this physical existence, but be able to feel the light come on within us and feel the inner senses that we have, the inner sense of taste and smell and touch, and feel our hearts, our inner hearts, and feel that connection with the divine. These bodies are very unique. I mean, they're amazing when you think about it, that we have that ability to do the things that we do, and be able to have that connection with one another and with Mother Earth. So in this drama that the Creator has created, these bodies and the pure self that's within these bodies and have been in other bodies in the past and will be in future bodies, that pure self that was created, that who we really are, the purpose of it was to create this drama like a good movie or a story where you have myself, in my pure self, ignorant of divine, and as I move through lifetimes, I hopefully start establishing a closer connection to the divine until the point where I become God realized. And it can take, for different people, due to karmas and things like that, it can be short lifetimes, amount of lifetimes, or it could be a lot of lifetimes. And Yogananda often used to say that it takes, in a natural progression, from the creation of the pure self to God realization, it's 1,000,000 years. So to speed that up, we have that ability through meditation to be able to channel our inner forces, our inner energy, open up our hearts to the divine, and burn up any karmas that are in our way from achieving our goal of God realization, and help us move through this, I don't want to say gross dimension, but this dimension is not the most pleasant one to be in sometimes, with all the ignorance and greed that has kind of led us to today, that where there's still people that don't know where their next meal's coming from, and there's people that don't have houses and struggle to find clothing, and there's wars going on, and it's just, sometimes it feels a little overwhelming, and it's all the more reason to go within and move that energy through our centers and light up the darkness that exists in the world today, and help its consciousness, the world's consciousness, evolve. And that's all part of what happens when we meditate, that our energy is helping the whole world move through and become closer to God realization. So before we go into our silent period of meditation, I wanted to read a quote by Swami Chitananda. And then following that, Claudia's going to play the bowls, and we'll go into a meditation. When you are with someone you love very much, you can talk, and it is pleasant. But the reality is not the conversation. It is simply being together. Meditation is the highest form of prayer. In it, you are so close to God that you don't need to say a thing. It is just great to be together. Please follow me in prayer. Almighty Spirit, our Mother and our Father, you have inspired us today to make the journey into this room, that we may share our heart's love with one another and with you. May your divine forces pass through us as we meditate. We open up our hearts to you, O Lord, and offer all of our love. Amen. We are so blessed that through the years here on earth, Divine Spirit has sent emissaries, enlightened ones, to manifest into physical bodies, to help humankind find their way through the darkness and into the light. And one of those souls that exemplified love, the greatest love, was Jesus Christ. His whole mission here in his life was to bring and to teach love to all that he could come in contact with. For at that time, the law was the predominant energy of the land. And just like in duality, there needs to be love to balance out the law. And when Jesus was arrested, put on trial, beaten, wounded, and made to drag a cross to his own execution site, in the last moments of his physical life, he said, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." Love exemplified through his last words. This is a quote from Norm Paulsen. "Each time that we meditate, the imprint of our heart's love leaves an internal picture in the mind of our Creator. We are in this world for such a short time, and were created perfect in the beginning. Let us strive to regain our perfection." So as we each develop a practice of meditation, and that we practice it every morning and every evening, feel that life force that's flowing through the meditation, that inner force, feel it energizing your heart and opening it up, and making that pledge in each meditation of your divine love for Spirit and the desire in this life to achieve God consciousness, cosmic consciousness. Follow me for a closing prayer. I am that I am. We, your children, feel so very blessed to be at this moment in time as we move forth through the rest of this life. May we enjoy each moment and have our love for you grow and grow. Amen.
I set my sail on the sea of life in hopes of finding the bright sun, in hopes of finding thee, in hopes of finding the bright sun upon the other shore. Star that shines, reveal thyself to me, O God, reveal thyself to me, reveal thyself to me, my God, beyond all space and time.